All right. So Ryan is in the building. Welcome to Plugged In. I'm really excited to have DJ Private Ryan in the building. Ooh.
Wait, somebody asked for a refund already because I late. Wait. Oh
Oh
God.
gosh, you see, it's already begun. That's why you shouldn't be late to your only, this is
That's
an
what I'm
event.
saying,
This
you
is
know?
an online event. Now
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
have to
Nah.
shave your head.
I was always here, you understand? I was always here, you know, like always. Always.
Oh gosh. So let's jump right into this. So you are international DJ Private Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
producer, event curator, your girlfriend's favorite DJ.
Mm.
I know everybody wants to know, where did you come out from? Because you started with mixes at FIU, and then boom, all of a sudden, you're world boss DJ Private Ryan. I feel like there was no transition that people really could have said, okay, like I've just watched this whole process. It was like mixes took over, boom, DJ career, event career. Like I want to know, I know the people want to know, how was that journey? Like, talk to us about that.
Um, I mean, for people it may seem like if it was just out of the blue, but it was a journey because, I was from like 15 years old already playing in clubs in Trinidad. So anyone who lives in Trinidad and knows about bass and coconuts and those things, I was playing there when I was 15. My parents used to be picking me up. Yeah, I used to be hiding because I didn't want people to know my mother was picking me up. But hey, I did it anyway. So, I I went through that. Then, while I was studying in well, after the high school, I was here for a year. I worked on the radio station and one down here. I went to college and then I was playing college parties and studying at the same time. And that's when I created the mixes. And then the mixes, they took over the college circuit, like all, FIU, FSU, Miami International, all those schools were, and even like Howard, I had a lot of Howard friends, friends in Atlanta, so like they were natural ambassadors because they would be listening to the mixes and it would spread. Then promoters would then start bringing me to do the college events. So I did. I have to find pictures of all these things because there's a huge history in terms of the college circuit I did. I went up to Syracuse University and played there in their Caribbean parties as
Oh
well too.
wow.
Yeah, I was in Nicole. Like I have to find those pictures. Made some friends all over, and from that journey of doing events and doing the whole Caribbean circuit and then creating my own events, which would be the Soca Brainwash, Soca Starter, Postcard Really Press Play, those things which were by extensions of the mixes, and then now going into production, which is a natural progression, creating the music. So right now, I'm in a position where I'm DJing, so I'm actually playing content. I'm creating events and I'm creating content as well too. So I mean, it's a kind of balance, and I have to keep the quality because they all require different skill sets and
Right.
creativity. Part of your creativity, So it's
So
about
when
keep.
you started out with the mixes, did you have in mind that you were going to do a party? Or did you initially thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to put out these podcasts, there's a need for this, and you kind of went about it that way? Or did you already kind of have in your mind and conceptualize that you wanted to do events as well with the mixes?
I always knew that I wanted to turn not all of them, but certain ones into events. So Soca Brainwash was always one that I wanted to turn into an event. When I created Soca Brainwash, I hadn't created Soca Start yet. It was called the Soca Sampler. And then I kind of said, you know what, I wanted to rebrand it and do that. Press play came later, so yes, I always wanted to do press play, but there are two in particular that I wanted to turn into events, and funny enough, they haven't turned into events yet, but there are two things that I always intended to do. And that was Private Ryan versus the Music, which is one that is me playing all the different genres, and it's me primarily playing.
Is
And
the other
Summer
one
Bunny.
Freestyle Fridays?
No, Summer
Oh.
Bunny. Summer Bunny was
Okay.
always meant to be this summer party that, I want to do, which I will do. Actually, I intended to do it this year, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. We'll
We
see
might
how
have
it
to do
goes.
a Zoom party or something, go virtual.
Well, yeah, something like that. Freestyle Fridays actually is one as well too. So Freestyle Fridays will come, and maybe after COVID is done, Freestyle Fridays may turn into like an afterwork something that I do, and I'll come and play and invite other DJs to play and kind of get people back into the kind of like small scale, intimate
Yeah.
So it's not big festival type soca brainwash, but it's kind of more on a smaller scale of things.
Okay. Now, how were you received when you went full-fledged with DJing? How were you received by the public, by your peers, and what were some of the challenges that you've encountered throughout your journey?
Challenges. How was I received by my peers? Well, I mean, some people, they was like, you could DJ, and they were disbelief, and then they heard me DJ, and then they was like, wow, you could actually mix two songs together. I was like, hey, yeah, I can. And I taught myself all those things, everything in DJing, from mixing to scratching to just how to do everything with music. I'm self-taught. There's no one who kind of stood up next to me and taught me how to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the challenges, I don't think I had any major challenges per se. One of the major challenges, which is also kind of develop a strength, was the discipline. And that was like, while being in school, being able to study and also DJ, because, both require a lot of time. I think one of the challenges, as well as I say challenges from peers, is that when you live in Florida, what happens is the dynamic is that if you come from Trinidad, you are automatically labeled soca
Trinidad
DJ,
soca DJ.
right?
Yeah.
You are Trinidad soca DJ. So for you come and play soca alone, and I'll be like, yeah, I could play soca, but I can play everything else, and I can play it just as well or better than even the Jamaicans and the hip hop DJs and those things. And there's a story like even Hans from BRT could know this story, because me and his brother went on it. So like there was a time when I was playing in this party, and I came and I was playing soca, but I realized you needed to change it up. So I started to play dancehall. But when they heard me play dancehall, some of the other DJs were like, they started to get shook. They was like, yo, this guy could play dancehall. Like,
Yeah.
we need to play. We need to be the ones playing that. And so like it's always this like, Trini boy, what you know about dancehall, what you know about this, what you know about that, and then once the president said that Ryan could do this and he could represent, they just let me do what I wanted, and so like that's how I was able to then do what I did, like even in terms of playing alongside Walshy and all these other things. All those friendships were because they understood, it's like, like this guy is different, so let him do what he needs to do.
So is it safe to say, because the general public, I think it's kind of the same thing. You have the tagline, the most versatile DJ in the world. But a lot of people, when they hear Private Ryan, they think soca because of Soca Brainwash, Soca Starter, all of these things. So when a promoter calls you, is it that are they generally calling and saying, hey, I want you to come and play soca nowadays? Or has that shifted where people are now calling and they're just booking you? I'm booking you to book you. You can play whatever you want to play.
It's both. So for example, for carnival settings, it's usually soca, but the exceptions to that. For example, Jamaica, they expect me to mix up both. So when I play in like sunrise, breakfast party, and other things, they expect me to do both. When I go to Florida, they expect me to do soca, dancehall, Afrobeat. When I go to Notting Hill, same thing. They expect a mix, like even in terms of being able to play some French. Like when I go, I have to be able to sing from the French Caribbean, because they are heavy over there. So you have to be able to represent the Martinique, Guadeloupe, Paris, all these places, as well as being able to understand that you have to play Bajan stuff, you need to play Lucian stuff, Grenada stuff, Trinidad, Jamaica. Like is everything, like all the Nigerian stuff, understanding that there's different types of Afrobeat from different places as well too. Then there's garage. Then there's scenarios where I'm put in places where they appreciate like old school R&B and those things. And then there are times when I'd have to do some house music and EDM. So like it's like you always have to like be on top of it, because then when you go to New York appreciates everything. So the soca parties, some of them, they actually are one where, yes, they love soca, but you need to know how to play the other stuff. Like that's how you really stand out. So for me, when people hire me, yes, I am known in the soca world, and so people do hire me for soca a lot as well too. But like, if I were to go to the journey of a lot of these signature events, even from I'll use Barbados as an example. There's a party called C'est La Vie. That was one of the first parties that actually started to to fly me out. Like while I was in college, I left. If you look at my mix history, I did that promo mix years ago, and I used to go there and play for like 2 or 3 hours, and it was literally everything I had to play in
Wow.
that. And then I started to go to all the other islands and do that, like Antigua. Like I used to go to Antigua and do dancehall parties and other things too. In Miami, I would play in this club called Oxygen. That was straight hip hop. Like there's a whole journey, in terms of what I've been able to do versatile wise. So like I get called for different things, and I like
Right.
it. I like versatility, but I love soca music, of course, as well. Like it's my heart is where I come from, and there's so much more of it that there's a lot of layers to it too now.
Right. Do you remember like your first major booking that you got? Like, do you remember what event or what country that was in?
Like international?
Yeah. Like out of
Oh,
FIU, your first major booking that was like, damn, like I did
uh,
that.
no. Yeah, no. like technically, like I mean, technically my first gig would have been international gig, would have been Miami when I moved, because
Okay.
then I would have gone to Miami. But then I think, and then I did the states, so like I would have been around the states. So I would have done Atlanta, I would have done New York with Howard, and I did out New Orleans, I did those things. But I think one of the first that flew me out might have been Barbados, might have been. I
Okay.
don't want to. That Sailor V party in particular, I think might have been the one that flew me out to go to Barbados to do it.
Okay.
From Florida. So I was still in college at the time, and I was able to leave Florida and go back to college. I didn't even come home.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, you have 1,000,001 gigs, and people call me all the time and say, "Caris, I want to book Private Ryan. Do you know when he's available?" And I'm like, "Never. He's never available. He's always booked." I want to know, how far in advance do people have to book you? Like, how far? But like, is it a year? Is it 6 months? Because I know your schedule is crazy busy, and I know the people want to know too.
yeah. I would say yeah, because had COVID not happened, I would have been able to tell you where I was every single weekend of this year. I think I could have told you where I would have been. This right now, in an alternate reality, I would have been in Jamaica already, and I would have been playing at a party that would have been going on at the same time as Tuesday on the Rocks. I think it's Moonshine,
Yeah.
right? And on Thursday, I would have been doing Frenchman. Friday, I would have had Soca Brainwash. Saturday, I would have been at Sunrise Breakfast Party. Then Frenchman in the night. Then Sunday on the road. Monday, I would have been chilling. I probably would have checked out Jamaica's cool down. Then I
Cool
would have
down for
left.
you. Yeah.
I think I would have come back here. I think that would have been around the time of Josie's Jamishness. Then the week after, what month we in? Right. I think I would have been going back out because I would have had to go to do 7 Up in New York and something in Queens. Then right after that would have been, see where I'm going? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I would have been all over the place for the whole year, and then leading to
Blaze
all.
just said when Big Fish was by the river.
Yes,
That was
Big
a
Fish was
long time
actually.
ago.
Yeah, Big Fish was actually at the restaurant called Big Fish. So yeah, that was why it's called Big Fish. The restaurant was called Big Fish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Learn something new every day. Tasha
Yeah,
actually asked, "What did you major in school?" I just saw that.
I did business. So I did, but I majored in marketing, and
This
I
makes
also
sense.
have a certificate in economic analysis. That class was hard as hell, boy. Wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you are smarty pants. You are smarty smarty. Okay, okay.
Well, boy, that's what the degree says.
Well, honestly, like I have to give you credit. Like your marketing is brilliant. And I mean, you've taken a concept and turned it into a company. So I want to know, like, how did you strategize that? Like what went through your head, or, how was that process, taking something and then building that into a company?
Well, for you to accomplish, you're only as good as your team as well too. So for you to accomplish, especially managing an event, especially something like Brainwash, requires a lot of input from various various individuals, right? And all of us would have our strengths and weaknesses, so we kind of balance off each other. So understanding that is understanding that you need to create this dynamic that works and has a relationship with each other in terms of making the machine turn, right? And it's still a learning process because remember, Soca Brainwash is there's nothing like it. So there's no template to learn from. Like
Right.
you literally we're creating a template as we go along. On Carnival Saturday there was no event during the day that happened that way, and there's no event I think that exists that goes to these territories and does what it does. Soca Brainwash is that event. So creating it is still a work in progress, and it's still evolving. And now it has to evolve again quicker than usual because now the dynamic of the world has changed in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
So whatever plans I had, going into this full year of events now has to change because
Yeah,
now
brand new
we're putting
whiteboard.
a whole new world with a
Yeah.
whole set of different dynamics that we need to take into consideration. So, I mean, all those are things that, you have to kind of deal with that,
How big is your team?
The core team is only 5 people. The core team consists of my mother, my sister, and 2 of my really good friends who I introduced. But they have their production company as well, and they are my production managers in terms of we work on the layout and a lot of the logistics and those things. Those guys are part of the team. So we literally sit and in the office in Trinidad or remotely, remotely whenever need be, and we plan all the brainwashes around the world. And that's what it happens. So I mean, of course we've delegated and we have like sub teams and other people who work, but the main decision making and coordination sits at that table.
Okay, so do you come up with your own, like, are you the mastermind behind the concepts? You come up with all the concepts?
So all the themes are mine. There's only one that I will not take full credit for. Only one. And that would be the one from this year. Because my sister was the one who convinced me to do Treasures of the Orient over the one I was going to do. So Cherise was the one who actually, she convinced me. She really did, because I remember the day she said, "I'm telling you, this is the one you need to do." Like yeah, step one. I'm like, yeah, should we do that or should we do what I thought? And then eventually we were able to flesh it out. And then because following the 70s was kind of difficult because the 70s is such a rich theme.
Yeah, and people came out for that theme.
Yeah, but we knocked it. I think this year, design wise, Treasures of the Orient was a really beautiful event. So
it was very picturesque, and you just wanted to kind of just stand and just look at everything. Well, that's what I was doing the whole time.
Well, I know you're photo banter, so
it was great. I got some good images. I have some throwbacks to put up.
I'm sure you have some throwbacks. I mean, we have time,
I know we're
not
going anywhere. But with your sister and your mom, what is that like? Because the brother-sister relationship, the mom dynamic is different. I know that mom is manager, your sister is basically road manager. So what's it like working? Do you guys take home the work? When mom is in the kitchen cooking, are you talking about what's happening at Brainwash? Like, how's that?
Yes, it happens. It is good, and it is also challenging at the same time, because you imagine being in a dynamic where you are the head of your business, you're the creative person behind it as well too, but you're also your sister's younger brother and
your mom's son.
And if there's some sort of difference of opinion, it always is it could be a situation where the lines could be very blurry in terms of disagreement. So mom has her idea, Cherise has her idea, I have my idea or my perspective of things, but it's just about finding the middle ground. I mean, one of the things that any entrepreneur will understand, and it is a lesson, because it is a lesson as well, is that at the center of a business, there also lies it's not a label that but it's something that anyone will need to know. That's personality management, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have to deal with personality management, dealing with the dynamic of several different people around the world that have both a professional and personal relationship with you, you have to know how to manage that, because if you don't manage that well, it could lead to very stressful situations
Yeah.
dealing with people. And I kind of have to do that all the time.
With
But
that being said, you have a lot of different DJs at your events, from Soca Brainwash to Post Carnival. So how do you select your DJs? Is it a popularity contest? Is it, this is my boy, I check for him? Like, what's the selection, what's the criteria when you're choosing your DJs?
So I always try to, all right, so there will be a balance between the established ones and new ones, right? So that's one. But another main criteria when I'm looking at DJs, because I always traveling, and there's a list of DJs I haven't even gotten to get to yet, right? Is who is ready to talk to the world, and I always use that as a reference. Like, when you're on stage in something like Soca Brainwash, I say like Soca Brainwash because Brainwash being the biggest of them, and the one that attracts a worldwide audience, the person that is on the microphone or even DJing can't be somebody who is lost in their own world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you go up on stage, and let's say you are Rigo Suave, for example, or Tony X or Back to Basics, who come from New York, they should not be on stage only talking about New York and to New Yorkers.
Correct. Right.
They need to be on the stage and know how to talk to everybody. Simple things like identifying flags, being able to engage, being entertaining, and also knowing the music from the other islands as well too becomes important. So when I am looking at, and the hard part about it is that the DJs who are selected are all headliners in their own way.
Yeah.
From the person who is starting
They're
the party,
on the circuit.
they are on the circuit, so it's always difficult. So I have to play a balancing act in terms of, even if, let's say, I use a Back to Basics in the slot before mine at 1, there are some that would then have to open or play early and another, but they have to understand that. And then if somebody doesn't get hired for one, they're replaced by somebody else. So, like, for example, there are times when, let's say, I've hired a DJ Steven, but then Steven is taken out and then he's replaced with somebody else, right? There are times people would see me play alongside Barry Hype, but then there have been times, let's say, for example, in Miami, where I took him off the set with me and put in with Jester, who also wasn't on Brainwash before, and he does his show, and then I do my show with, like, someone who people now know that Kevin works with me on those things, but those could change over time. Like, as in, there'll be a point in time it's like, okay, y'all have seen this, so then let's try somebody else and let's see how they deliver. So I mean, again, it's such a long list, because I travel with and see so many great DJs that it's always hard to select and bring it down to 5 slots. It's a little easier when I have the multiple stages.
Yeah.
So the multiple stages, like New York, I was able to do 3 different stages with 3 different lineups of DJs, and I actually love that, because it's like it gave the opportunity for people to experience the Caribbean in just varying ways. And I like that, and I kind of want to build on that with the Brainwashers as well too.
Okay. And like you said, so people have seen you, DJ and have mic men like Barry Hype, Kevin Crown, Tony X. How, like, you've excelled playing by yourself. You've had a mic man, you've not had a mic man, and you've shelled down in every situation. But how necessary do you think it is for a DJ to have a mic man?
Depending on the situation, it is important, because sometimes interaction is needed. Sometimes the people need more. They need a little more than just music, but they also don't want it to be overwhelming, because the music needs to breathe. So, like, the dynamic, you just need to understand it, balance it off, but also at the core of it, which is where, working with MCs, understand that the core of it is the music. So when I work alongside, let's say, a Barry Hype, or Kevin, Tony X, or Rigo, and the list goes on, with the Trinidad MCs, a Shal, a Trevlin, or whoever, there's a science to playing alongside each of them, because all of them have different personality traits on stage. So, for example, Kevin is energy, Barry's argument, Tony is swag and charisma, Rigo's a showman, right? and is more stationary, so he more stands next to you. So like understanding each one is Patrick also is so like
Yeah.
understanding how to work with each one is the secret to being able to deliver how you know you still have to remain yourself into the how you play, but you have to also feed into their strengths to give them the ammunition they need to put on a show. So I
Right.
mean, it's a lot of, and that's what I'm saying. Like in terms of the selection process for Brainwash, that is just to go back to your initial question with that as well too. It's just seeing people who are ready, but also understanding that there are people with raw talent who will get there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the balance in that.
Okay.
I like your cup,
By
boy.
the way, shout out
Hey,
my cup.
hey, hold on. Watch. Hey,
Oh
boy.
yeah. So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
attend Brainwash this year, that means that you didn't get one of these cups. It says love on it. This is like my
Correct.
favorite
I
cup.
have faith.
Yeah,
You know.
see? Love and faith. Cheers to that.
Correct. Cheers to that. Cheers to that. We're taking
But
that.
this is one of my favorite cups. Like I drink everything in here. Water, I drink tea, I drink everything. It's such a great
I
cup.
kind of vary it. I know people have their different ideas in terms of the cups. I drink a lot from the Wonderland cup.
That's
I like
the
this one.
one that comes in orange and different colors, right?
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
orange, they
I have
had
the orange.
green, they had a purple one. So like, there's a Wonderland cup. There is the oh yeah, see someone said the Soca Brainwash Miami cup. That was pretty good. That was the intergalactic.
I saw,
That
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah. And
that one
I
keeps
like
it
the big
really
wooden
cool.
one from New York as well. That one is really cool.
Right, that one people use for all kind of things, corn soup, all those things.
Do you
Yeah,
have
I've
a
seen all
favorite
the
cup?
pictures.
And okay, two-part question. Do
Nah,
you have a favorite cup? And how do you decide on what cup for each event?
boy,
Like
the cup
design.
process is fun. But again, the cup process is a combination of myself and Sharice, and you know now also in the company Sherelle too, and we sit down and we'd have these ideas, and then we try to think what will, if I was coming to this event with this theme, what would that cup look like? And sometimes you know we don't even have we don't we based on different circumstances we're not even able to get our first choice. Like the I mean I know if my sister gets me, I mean if she's listening, that is if people only understood what the cup was supposed to be for the Game of Thrones one last year that we couldn't get at the last minute, like it would have blown people's minds. It was crazy. It was really, really crazy. And I was like, oh my God, like if we did this, this would have been wicked. But I mean, we did the massive wooden engraved ale cup, which was also pretty
Yeah.
good. Um, but I don't have a favorite cup, but there are ones over time that have definitely stood out and people like, and I see a lot. Some people even like the Jamaica cups because they're mason jars, and the mason jars are a
Yes,
color
I have
that
a green one. It's
people
in my
could cup
cupboard right
right, so
now, actually.
they could cover it and they could jump
Yeah.
around and nothing spills, and
I
you know, so they're
actually saw a
different.
couple of people during Carnival with those, with the Jamaica
Yeah,
cups.
yeah, the Jamaica cup because there's the only one that's a mason jar. There's no other cup that we've done that has the mason jar effect because you know
Sharice
mason
is
jars are kind
online
of
listening. Shout out Ryan's sister, Sharice.
yeah. I don't think
Just make,
that's the
yeah,
cup banter.
tread
That's cup
lightly in the
banter.
interview.
You see, she's listening. She's
Oh
listening.
gosh. So what is the ultimate goal? You know, everybody has a 5-year, 10-year plan. So what is the ultimate goal, if there is one for Private Ryan? Because now you've gone into production, which we'll touch on. You've done the event curation, you know, you are a DJ. So what's the cup?
You know, I am on a journey that just keeps going. So like you know, with the events, you know, there's milestones I want to accomplish with Soca Brainwash, individually and holistically. So like it's both on an individual level, like with Trinidad, with Jamaica, with you know those things, but then bringing it all together. What is this picture of Soca Brainwash around the world is like? You know, it's like how Ultra Music Festival is able to take Ultra Music Festival and make it a world recognized music festival for electronic dance music. You know, is it that I can take Soca Brainwash and make it a recognized music festival for soca music that is recognized not just only in the Caribbean diaspora, but
Global.
in general, like the
Yeah.
world will see this as something that they want to attend because they want to be part of the soca brainwash energy. You know, as a DJ, there are places that I still have not reached yet, which you know I would like to reach before I decide to to maybe, and I say maybe, travel less for a while because I want to focus on other things. So is it that, you know, I want to build another arm of the business that would require some attention?
Do we see a record label in the near future? You know,
Well, you don't know, which is what I'm getting to. So, like, if let's say, for example, I want to then create content, and I want to create content in a way that will be holistically for the Caribbean, whether it be dancehall, soca, zouk, all these things, and then create this movement of music that then takes over the world. That may require time from me. That may take away from my ability to travel as much as a DJ as well too. So then it's about balancing, you know, that creative side of myself, because of course you can't do everything, and big artists do that. Like any major traveling artists, yes, they have their travel schedule, but they take breaks, and in that break they're also able to reset, which kind of is what is happening now by force. And they're also able to step into their creativity to make classic albums. Right. So is it a situation where, you know, I could create a new sound that will take over the world that is rooted from the Caribbean? So like there are a lot of things. Could I be the first person to get a soca Grammy? You know, like what if I'm able to take, let's say, for
sky's the limit,
love, right, and take Feely Love to a point where it's recognized world music wise, and people from around was like, what sound is this? And then it then goes on and creates a whole new movement that follows this sound of soca, and then makes people delve even deeper into the culture. You know, there are things that they're just things that I think that maybe I'm supposed to, and then accomplish, and then to create merchandising, create maybe a management company where you find the next set of DJs.
I'm available for hire.
I know you are. I know, right? I know that. So like, it's the situation where, you know, you create a management company that then finds, you know, the next wave of DJs, you know, and then they travel, and then, you know, from your experience with dealing with the DJing aspect of it, you then know create this movement of the new wave, you know. So there's a lot. So I mean, I have it written down, and then, you know, you have your personal goals. It's like, where do you want to be when you're in your 40s, your 50s? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? So like, there's so much to balance and one life to live, and only so much time. And the thing about life is that you don't know how much time you actually have. So you can plan all you want, but the plans can change for you in an instant.
Exactly like what COVID did to us. You know, we were
right, and understanding that is what keeps you humble as well too, because you could understand that everything that you plan could be taken away from you in an instant. That is the reality of life.
So with all of this going on, what keeps you motivated, especially with the mixes? I mean, it takes a lot of time to do these mixes, I assume. And you are, that's one thing you're known for, is the consistency of putting out mixes all the time. So what keeps you motivated to continuously do these mixes and just to keep going every day? Because you have a lot on your plate. You know, you're delving in different areas daily. So what is your motivation?
It keeps you on your toes. At the root of everything I do, I'm a musical lover. So me being a person that is a lover of music and a lover of various genres will always keep me motivated to then challenge myself to do other things. So, for example, the quarantine mixes, my challenge is, how do I make each one sound different, but I'm using, you know, and you know, using the mixture, because you're trying to keep it versatile. And how do you give each one of them a different personality? And it's a multi-genre mix, and that is the challenge. So I would challenge myself as like, okay, I want reggae to be in this one, some 70s, some this whatever. And then the idea is like, all right, how do I piece this together to make it all make sense? How do you tell the story and then make one not sound like two doesn't sound like three, and three doesn't sound like four? Those things are great practice, because when you now go and you are live, you subconsciously have a lot of these things that you would have practiced, you know, like just because sometimes me doing the lives, I've been doing impromptu lives, and that's just me practicing. There's no planning of the list. I actually ask people, where you want me to start today? And then just go from there. The same with the mixes. The mixes have a point where I would want to start, and then I see where it takes me, right? But you also remind, what did I do before? Because you don't want someone listening to quarantine, well, press play, and I've frozen it, because press play was at press play, I think 13, but then I froze the series and just doing the quarantine volumes, because there's, you know, right now we're kind of stuck. So the idea kind of is, all right, so we're stuck. So now we're stuck in quarantine. So this is the press play. So it's not like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I just keeping it at the quarantine until we're out.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
go to the big party. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there might be 100 quarantine editions.
Well, boy,
the rate we're going at right now.
I hope not. I hope not. But yeah, but it's always a challenge, you know, researching music because I'm doing over my whole music library now. So like, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Oh my God. And then in terms of like routine, like do you have like a personal care routine? Because, you know, you have to take time for yourself daily to take care of, you know, your mental health and so forth. So do you have anything that you do, you know, when you wake up in the morning or when you're going to bed at night? Is there anything that you do specifically?
Well, I would say that since Carnival is done, like after Carnival is done, I actually got a little sick. I wasn't feeling well, and I had like a slight fever. I know people might be scared because like, did you have the Rona?
So no. So listen, before you finish that statement, I was having this conversation yesterday, and I am convinced that everybody that was sick after Carnival got the Rona because people got really, really, really sick. And you know, 19,000 people came back to Trinidad, and you know, I just feel like this has been going on since December or whatever, November.
It wasn't me, Rona. It wasn't me, Rona. But I was
feel like
tired.
the Rona was in Trinidad and people got mild symptoms. I feel it.
It could be. But I would say that this year I wasn't as regimented as I usually am with you know, vitamins, and then it was intense and the sleep, and then the process. You know, I was also dealing with my uncle who was very sick. You know, there was so much going on that this year was intense. So coming out of this and then going into the COVID, what I was happening is that I've been getting a lot more sleep. Like it's actually benefited. My skin is a lot smoother. Everything.
You're looking a little glowy. A little glowy.
It's that glow, baby. It's that glow. So I have been doing that. You know, I've been taking my ginger shots, taking my vitamins, drinking more water. I've been cooking my own food a lot, as well as eating my mother's food as well too, which is something that I usually during the year I'm disconnected from because I'm traveling. So you're always on the move. Airplane food, hotel food, airports, those things. So now activating an exercise routine in the morning as well too. So by doing that, you know, my body is getting the much needed reset that it didn't get for years, and that is a fact. So like, even in terms of a personal load, if anyone looks at a picture of me in FIU days, right, and then looks at a picture of me a couple of years later when travel really started kicking, you would have seen that I would have put on a lot of weight, right? Yeah. And it wasn't because I don't really eat junk food. I don't. But what happens is when your metabolism and you lack sleep and a lot of different things, and you don't balance that off with a regimented exercise routine and other things, your body doesn't really deal with that well, right? Now is the first time in a while that I've been able to kind of regain some sort of balance in terms of that. So, you know, it now will be a situation where I could go back to that place, which is why I'm actually not, I mean, while I am aware of the dangers of it, and I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody in terms of their health, but it also was a needed reset as well too.
Agreed. You know, mind, body, and soul. I think that everybody at this point needed to just stop.
So I'm not in a place where I'm really ungrateful for the rest and the health and a lot of different things that will come out of it after this. You know.
You know what I think that a lot of people probably want to know as well. You have a gazillion and one gigs during Carnival. You have a gazillion and one throughout the year, but during Carnival you have a ton of gigs. How do you get through those gigs? Because I know that there's some nights that I call you and you're like, I have 4 gigs tonight, and I'm like, excuse me, I can't even make it to like 1 for more than 2 hours, and you are playing at 4 different events. So,
well, that's more so during Carnival week. Carnival week is like that, but like, and you lead up, like, you know, you'll have actually because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you might go depending on the weekend.
Yeah.
To be honest, power naps, that is the honest to God answer. In the car, I mean, I don't drive. I was crazy years ago when I used to drive to my events. My mother was the one who said, you're absolutely crazy for doing that. Facts. And I advise anyone who has it's not worth it. You know, it's really not worth it, because I would be like, you know, I'm independent, I could do it. And I just used to go and drive myself to my events. And then eventually she's like, Ryan, you need to get and it is, yeah, because there'll be times where I'll be coming home and like I'll be so exhausted. As soon as I turn off the ignition, I would just like instantly like be asleep. I would just be like, yo, I'm done. And it was at that point, it's like, yo, that is crazy. And really not safe. So, and I don't advise that, and I learned that, and I've never played with that ever again. So, you know, in the middle of the gig, once I'm done, you know, I have literally programmed to, and my friends who pick me up as well, like even when it's not like my drive in Trinidad, you know, my friends in Miami,
Look,
Renell
Renell's on right now, actually.
oh yeah, look, hey, look, yeah, they would know. So I would literally take a power nap in the car and then wake up and have the most energy, and people like, how are you doing this? I'm like,
Power nap,
power naps, dog. So like I could get a power nap and be okay in an event, like as in I'll be up, and then like when the event is over, yeah, I am out again.
He's not lying, guys. He's not.
Nah, but sometimes if I get the opportunity to rest, like let's say I rest during the day, so like I take an actual proper nap, then I handle it a lot better, you know. So like it's a matter of being able to understand the schedule and adapting. So I would take the naps and stuff.
Okay, so let's touch on the music production. Did you have an aha moment of like, I've done all of these things, I want to go into music production? Like, what was that moment for you that you decided I am going to become a producer and produce my own music?
It wasn't an aha moment, you know. It was just all right. So for a couple of years, before I actually produced my own songs, I would deconstruct soca songs. Well, let's say prelude to that. I think that I have a knack for hearing a hit before it becomes hit, like a hit. And that occurs, of course, so I could hear something that I think people would connect with, whether it be uptown, downtown, or just like something silly, like I think I hear it. But then on top of that, for years, and which is what a lot of DJs do now, which is the rise of the edits. If you listen back to some of the earlier soca mixes, I used to use something called stems, and stems are the parts of the song that make up the whole song, right? So you know, with drum, snare, a synth, and I used to break down the songs, take out the strongest elements of the songs, and then make them into my own personal edits of songs. So like people could think back to when I did Fallen with Kest, and that soca started 2015, to Happiest Man Alive when I just used the guitars. So like you could call a lot of them what did it. So in understanding that and learning the dynamics of what goes into piecing together the songs to make them what they are, you know, I had this natural knack for knowing how to piece together songs. So where I would be able to piece it together in playing it, it comes natural to me now, because it's like I understand drum patterns, I understand. Even if I can't play piano like a well pianist, I understand the keys that sound good together. So like I could literally say, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this, and I piece it together. And then if there's certain quirky things, like I could, I mean the unreleased stuff, but like in terms of sitting down and creating some of these things, like I mean, they all on my iPad. It could have been great if I could have played what these songs sounded like from the iPad, wherever it is. I literally make these guides, and like I know before I even go into the studio and pull it together, I know exactly what I want the song to sound like, and it's very simple. And so like me doing it now and making my own songs was a natural thing. Like it was something that was inevitable, because then now in my silence, I'm not only making the beats, but I'm having song ideas. So like the song, when I'm making it, I like no standing up for Pretty. I gave Pretty I explained exactly what I wanted the song to be in detail, and he said, say less, and then we wrote the song.
And that makes it so much easier.
Right? You know, articulating what I wanted the fizzle rhythm to be to the artist, and they all delivered. Like I knew the type of songs I wanted. You know, Feely Love was like I knew the song, and like there's so many little elements in it that in it that I actually played. And then in terms of articulating how I wanted it to sound and you know what I'm saying, and being in studio and actually being part of the process, you know, those things were just easy. Like even the pan that we hear the dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun, that part I played that part. Dun, 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 I did all that, and then Kevin was the one who was my co-producer. He's the one who did the pan at the end, right? And we and those are the last two elements to be added to Feel the Love. The pan wasn't there in the initial part of it. Even in terms of the guitar, which was the I was in studio and I told Sheriff how to play the guitar. Like I was there and I was like, I want you to do this because I can't play guitar. I was like, do this, string it like this, make it a little aggressive like that, and make it like, and then so piecing it together was just seamless, you know, in terms of what it is. So I mean, you know, it's not an aha moment. It's just like a progression, I guess.
Yeah, it's clearly a gift. It's clearly a God-given gift. I saw a couple of DJs in here ask, how do you get your stems?
Relationships with producers over time. With the understanding that, I mean, as bad as it is, with the understanding with a lot of them, especially when you get stems from, let's say, a Master Montano for a very in-demand song, they don't expect you to blast it out to the world because the problem is that when you give everybody the song, especially a newly released song, you get that there are too many edits floating around before the song got a chance to pick up on its own.
Yeah.
So, and then too, there are producers and DJs that may produce an edit that doesn't do the song justice. So, like they will make this edit that the artist just doesn't like, and then that starts to circulate, and someone who's looking for the song might come across the edit first and then just not like the song. So they try to not do it. But remember, as I said, because I was one of the first people to actually ask for stem, like way back when no one else was making edits like that. That is the trust I have gained over time with producers and artists. Like if I ask for it, you will get it. You know, like you know, I could just get it to figure out. And let me tell you, like when a song is popular and everybody wants the stems to it, like you will find that they're good edits, they're great edits, they're good edits, and then they're really bad ones. Like really, really, really bad ones. So you have to know who to trust with edits. And there's certain people that make great edits that, you know, hands down, even if, you know, they haven't, you could kind of be guaranteed that, you know, they'll get something good out of it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so it's 7:59. This is going to cut off. So everyone, we're going to come off and come back on again. Ryan, we'll answer a couple more questions. We'll have a little vibes. Janelle said to tell you she loves Angela's song, Crossover Potential. So
yeah, I think
guys,
so too. Angela, I know you had it last week, but Angela's song is wicked.
It's amazing. Like simply, she was actually saying, so that song, the entire Fizzle project was a great project. But that Angela song, there was just something that connected with especially women. Like I was seeing girls going off every time they heard that song, and she was actually saying that she didn't even know that, you know, like that's how it picked up in Trinidad. And I'm like, everywhere I went, I heard that song. It's a great song.
Yeah, Fizzle was really special, and that wasn't even supposed, like that was by accident. Like in my head at that time was we knew for sure Feel the Love was coming out and those things, and I had another rhythm that actually didn't come out, which will probably come out for next year, you know, God's willing, and Fizzle just came to me. I'd like, you know, and the process of making the Fizzle, I made that in my apartment. Well, I made the beat on the way to St. Lucia Carnival in July on the plane during some turbulence. I was just like, I'm bored. I want this plane to land. I took on my iPad and then I played the dun 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 dun. The exact tone that it is exactly what I used. I, you know, created the drums and and whatever, and I had it. And in that basic form, I sent it to Tedison because I thought, you know, hey, you need somebody. Sweet man come to make things sweet. You know, he's condensed, you know, Mr. Condensed.
Mr. Condensed.
And, you know, I wanted that international flavor I wanted that international flavor and somebody who I thought would have been an interesting writer, which is where, you know, I came up with the idea to send Angela. Now, I had seen Angela in Ryan Said's party in August before going to Nottingham, and the last thing she said was like, you know, Ryan, you know, anything, I'm not really doing this soca thing as much anymore, but like anything you need, just send it to me, and I'll go. So I called and I was like, listen, I have something here that I think you'd be really good for. And she came up with middle. From the time I heard it, she called me. She said, Ryan, I came up with something that is special. Like, I really, really love it. And when I heard it, I was like, yo, this is wicked. Now, the thing is, I made the Fizzle project, and each artist didn't hear each other's song. So, like, Angela didn't know what Tedison sounded like. Tedison didn't know what the song like. Nobody knew. But I was hearing the whole thing come together. And, funny enough, there's like 2 songs that never came out in it because we never finished, but it would have been good. Cohen was one of them. So Cohen was also a potential there. And Marshall. And we just never finished.
Speaking of that, so if you had to collaborate with anyone, dead or alive, who would be someone that you would want to collaborate with, like to bring in on a music production project?
Production-wise or musically? Like
both.
If I had to choose a producer, it would be Shell Shock, because I think Shell Shock was ahead of his time. And Shell Shock had a way as well of looking at using tones and everything, because even listen to the sound of Three Canal. If you listen to Three Canal and their catalog, which was classic, Shell Shock was behind that. Shell Shock made Look Me in My When We're Whining. He was also instrumental in Marshall's early success, which became some of his classics. Mm-hmm. So I would think that that production wise he would have been wicked. As an artist, boy, that is. I look at Shadow as somebody who created it. I think I didn't take for granted that Shadow's sound was identifiable. He actually created a sound. Yeah. And it's not easy. When you can hear a beat and immediately target to an artist or a producer, that is when you've created a song. Shadow had a song. So that when people try to imitate, it's like when you hear Full Extreme, the first thing people heard when they listen to Full Extreme is that Shadow Boy.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 that Shadow. So like, working with people like that, and then the conversation lies in terms of our classic soca artists. When you think back to Tambu, Shadow, David Rudder, Merchant, Lord Nelson, Sparrow, Kitchener, the instrumentation and the melodies and a lot of these things that were in these songs is something that, you don't find as much, well, at least in that form. There was a way of recording and putting together these songs where there was storytelling along with fun. Mm-hmm. So if I had to work with that, I would want to learn that aspect. I mean, there's some producers who have that because they were influenced like by those things. So like, somebody like, let's say Casey from Precision and the Red Boys from Barbados, they use live instrumentation in terms of their deliveries and stuff. There's just so much music theory, production wise. I mean, and then learning the science of it. Like I'm nowhere near perfect, and I'm not even admitting to be perfect. I'm still learning. Like there are people who are great at what they do, like even working with Keshav, who also Shell Shock was his mentor as well too, so he learned, but he's a great engineer. Sheriff is good at what he does. There are a lot of talented people, so I mean it's hard to kind of isolate it.
Yeah. And so now that you produce multiple songs, do you have a favorite that you worked on?
I have to say Feely Love, boy, because Feely Love from the time we started it, and Kevin and I started Feely Love in the Soca Brainwash office. I remember because we have a little makeshift studio that we set up there, and we started with one synth and built it from scratch. And then over time, like even things that we took out of the original instrumental that when we listen back to it, it's like, wow, there were so many great elements in this. But then the process of getting it to Muhammad and taking a chance with him as well too, because he's not a soca artist, and then bringing that to life in terms of piecing it together, like from the pan to the drums to the fact the background vocalists to being in studio and playing little accents that people hear, like little drum things and those things that we actually went in Sheriff's studio and did, to then getting the vocals to sound the way that they did, to then re-adding that's why there are two versions. Like there's two takes of the song that like vocally people didn't hear, like how powerful the vocals were. The vocals, like how he sang it. Like there's so many vocal runs that were done that we was like, yo, how do we get this down to like one song?
Yeah.
And even adding the entries, like the intros, me heart, that was one of the most powerful parts of the intros. Like, and it's like, yo, we that needs to be the start of the song. And like the process of putting that together was awesome. And I've worked and I can't take anything away from the process of making, because I was very hands-on with Tedison as well too, with X Games. And in Road Kank and No Standing Up, I was very hands-on with Preety, because ideas wise we went back and forth, and like I would identify a phrase and I'll be like, this is the phrase we need to build on. This is the thing to do. And so in having that relationship and being open, and it's not about egos, it's just like straight up back and forth chemistry, is powerful. So like, it's like choosing your favorite child, it's hard to say, but I would say Feel the Love, I think, gets the edge, yeah.
So is it safe to say that we can see a lot more coming out from that camp with Muhammad in there?
For sure, there's no question. I mean, during Carnival, I actually wrote another song. Like, I wrote it, and I made the beat for it. I wrote it, and I sent it to Muhammad. I already have the demo for it already, and it's a beautiful song as well too. And then in my silence here, while in my night, I've created like 3 or 4 different versions of various songs that I think would be great for them. But the question is like, as with music, is like, Feel Love is such a powerful song that has now begun its journey around you, because yes, we're at a standstill, but people haven't even seen the music video yet, which is another thing that's in the works. And imagine making a music video while everyone is in quarantine. So imagine the challenge, right?
But I think seeing the people's, like, their genuine expressions, every time I see someone post a video on Insta story where they're listening to it or down the road, I feel like my pores just raised in saying that it is such a beautiful sight. Just because it's just love, you know what I mean? You hear that song, and all you think about is love and happiness and kindness, and you want to hug the person next to you, even if you don't know them. My favorite line from that song is "My vibe's too high." Like that line. Oh my gosh, that line is such a powerful line, and a million people coming down. It's so
I think people, what is a testament to why this song is, and as I said, everything happens in its time. I mean, there's a story every year. I mean, I sampled Feel the Love on a mix, I think 2 years ago. And imagine that the year that Feel the Love comes out happened to be the perfect year for Feel the Love to exist.
Yep.
So it means everything happens at a time, which is why you have to look
at God's timing. Never question.
Everything happens in a specific timing, and there was no better time for Feel the Love to be in this world than now, knowing exactly what it means to people right now, which is why I can't deny, it's an undeniable force that made that song, or made the decision to have that song this year happen. And so we may not see the full picture now, but Feel the Love is now beginning its journey around the world, and I really do believe so. I really
endorse that 100%. Like, it's that everyone can listen to that song and feel the energy that it's meant to have. Even if you don't listen to soca, even if you're not Caribbean, you hear, like, for instance, I played that song. I was doing an interview a couple days ago with this girl from Toronto. She has never heard the song, and she was like, pick a song at the end of the interview and that we're gonna dance to. So I'm like, I'm gonna put you on. As soon as I played the first like 2 minutes of the song, she was like, oh my God. She's like, you need to send me the link. She's like, I need to know who these people are. And she loves the song. So, you know, no matter what your background is, that song connects, you know? And
yeah, and it connected with children, it connected with older people, it connected with gospel people, it connected in a lot of different ways. I know people in Australia were asking about it just recently. There's a lot going on with the song behind the scenes. So like, you know, when and then with the visuals of because there are things that haven't come out yet, which put the song in context, which would be the music video. There's the Soca Brainwash After movie, which hasn't come out yet.
I feel like that video needs to be everybody, like you said, like the kids, the older people, you know, our age, like everybody needs to be a part of that video.
Right.
Like,
so I mean, all that to do. So like
Yeah.
creatively, it's like, you know, scripting it to be something that will be very special, which will then speak to anyone who sees it. Will be like, wow. And the beautiful thing about Feely Love as well is that Feely Love literally, like, it spoke about love in a universal way, but as well it described what carnival is. For someone who doesn't understand why people carnival chase, Feely Love is actually what it is.
Yeah.
So like even the lines, million people coming down dancing to a song, right? The lines, you know, people live 1,000 lives but never feel this free. All those things actually speak to the feeling that people have of carnival and why people are so emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
It is the thing that I think some people take for granted when they try to isolate why it is I feel this attached to carnival. You know, people from the outside is like, yeah, you know, dancing behind trucks and all it, you know, but they don't understand the energy
freedom.
that is,
No
that
stress
is surrounding that, the ability to celebrate yourself, your culture, music, make friends, be happy, not have any worries,
and you're not setting anything at that moment.
Right. You're in this zone, which is why, again, when you go back to when the energy. So I just articulated what I articulated, the song I wanted, right? When we created Soca Brainwash the Wonderland, because that's why it's named the Wonderland Rhythm, is because it was supposed to be the theme song for the Wonderland. What is the Wonderland? And the Wonderland is this chase of this feeling that we have. What is this free spirit and happiness that we feel when it comes to carnival? But how do we describe it without saying the word carnival? And that is what Feely Love is. Feely Love then talks to everybody, but it literally is describing what our culture is in one song.
Couldn't have said it better. There you go. For everybody that was listening, because I'm sure everybody wants to know, because it definitely is a top favorite. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the world that would have heard that song and said, I don't like that song. You know, people have their opinions about music on a whole, but I feel like that is one song that is accepted and loved across the board, like just everywhere. But to go back into your DJing, one thing that I think that I want to know as well is, like, what do you think is your responsibility as a DJ? Like, you are a household name, you know, you're known globally. What do you think your responsibility is as a DJ to your fans, you know, and to the people?
DJ wise, you have to inspire, you have to entertain. It's a balance. So like for me, there's a responsibility for the younger generation to set an example. So being in a position now where you become a household name, it comes with great responsibility. So you have to make sure that you know, I show appreciation to the craft of DJing. So the craft of DJing, the art of mixing, the art of blending the music, the art of telling a story with the music, the art of taking risks, the art of you know, being able to storytell and deliver in a way that's entertaining. In the carnival circuit is also the ability to then, on your back, you know, not be fearful of playing new music, because, you know, when we are faced with the carnival season in January, in Trinidad in particular, there are 400 plus songs, and then much more, but I mean the ones that end up in rotation, 400 songs or so that we as DJs have to educate the masses about. So when you're in my position, you can either play it safe and play the regular hits that people will respond to, or you can take it upon yourself to then be a leader and then play the songs that they may not immediately respond to now,
Right.
but you know that you're building the response for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks down the line. So
Yes.
you're building. The patrons don't realize it, but you're building their carnival experience from early.
Yeah.
And then while they may criticize you at first, they're the ones that are going to jump to you a little later, and they're going to remember. They're going to thank you for it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you be a leader in a lot of different ways. And so, like, as a DJ, I take that very, very, and that's why too I'm very disciplined with the mixes as well too, because at the core of it is DJing. Like, there's no, you can't. I tell people this time that we're in now, especially that we're on pause, you can't fake good DJing. The
Yep.
people will see it,
Yep.
they will
They'll
feel it,
smell it,
and
they'll
they will
know.
know it. Because when you're live and when you're doing all these things, they are going to see how good
Yeah.
you actually are and what you can actually do. And there have been people even now after years that they've been looking at the lives and they said, "Wow, you actually can DJ." I'm like, so yeah,
What
I
do you think I was
was
doing the whole
on
time?
mixes before, like I was doing this live. People
Yeah.
still question whether these things are actually live or not, but they really are. So also understanding balance. So for example, we're looking at you could be talented, but when you're in a position of power, or influence, I should say, not power but influence, they have impressionable minds. So what I say, what I do in my life, while you want to be yourself, you have to understand that there are people who will emulate you. So I would not go on my life, and I'm not taking, so let me just say I'm not taking anything away from anyone who's doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I necessarily need to go on my life and have girls bending over and half naked and doing extra stuff to get likes. I prefer to then take the approach of doing things like this, informing people, doing interviews, keep it at the core of the music and the DJing, engagement in different ways. And so, like, balance in the industry is important. So it's about understanding that aspect and, bringing it full circle so that you could present our culture in a certain way. Our culture can't be one-dimensional.
Right.
It can't be that our whole culture is just bent over, cut, and half naked, and everyone doing the most.
Yeah.
There is more to it, which is why even musically I took that approach too. When I went with Feel Love, X Games, Middle, those were all songs that brought balance to everything else. And I like everything else. Don't get me wrong, that's needed too.
Yeah.
But it can't be one thing. It has to be the whole picture. Is everything.
Yeah, because we want to expose our culture at its best as well. So we want people to see the vibe and the hype and the wine, but you also want people to embrace the music as well.
Right. So like there's different ways to embrace music, and it speaks to different people. But I'm just saying that, as I said, the responsibility is also about understanding that you play a pivotal role in balancing the when you identify things that may be going in a certain direction, it's your responsibility to actually kind of bring it home. When you see the picture, you have the experience of seeing it over time.
Right. And now, DJing, like, a lot of people are not studying to have conventional jobs anymore. And DJing has actually been recognized as a real job. Given that you are a role model, amongst, the younger community, what advice do you think that you would give this upcoming generation? Both those wanting to, become a DJ, and even as far as, those who just want to be entrepreneurs.
Okay, so the answer to that question is an understanding that not everyone has the same resources as everyone else. So not everyone may be as fortunate or blessed as I was to go to college, right? That is a fact. But on the other end, I will endorse everybody to educate themselves. Now, education lies in different ways. Not everyone may go to college, but it's important to empower yourself with knowledge. empowering yourself with knowledge is the first step, because it will give you perspective. It also builds your mind to be able to think through various situations. And we are going into a new world now. You know, as you said, everything has changed in a matter of a month. You know, the world that's gonna come out on the other end of this is going to be different. It is important, even for people, even a college mind. This is not even just about college, even your street sense, everything. You need to educate yourself to be ready for the challenges up ahead. With that being said, I will be the first one to say that anyone who has a dream, anyone who has a natural passion or talent, I think true happiness, and in terms of reaching that self-actualization, you know, if you study psychology and you reach the top of your pyramid, just in the journey to self-actualization, which is the top, it's important to know who you are, what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, and pursue it. I don't think there should be anybody who should tell you that you cannot accomplish something, or you should not be able to accomplish whatever you set your mind out to. Because had I listened to, you know, people who told me about Soca Brainwash, I never would have taken the risk to do it on Carnival Saturday. The same way I would have been deterred from DJing and said, hey, that DJing thing will go nowhere. And you know, I have friends who made that joke. It's like, Ryan, boy, you was a fan. He told me he was a DJ, and I thought, boy, this thing not gonna go nowhere. And they happen like that. And you know, there's so many different examples of success stories around the world where you hear that people may have been told that they can't do something, but then they were able to rise above it. So like merging your passion with a natural talent, and then empowering yourself with knowledge is like a perfect storm of how you would be ready to take on
formula.
To get to where you want to get to in this life in general, you know. So I think that's important. That's what I would say to anyone who's, and this applies to music, this applies to business ideas, this applies to even in terms of even school, everything. Like these are things that you just have to, you know, and you have to be able to sift the bad mind out, because there will be bad mind people who will try to.
Let's touch on that. Like, how do you deal with negativity, if you get any? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that type of situation? Because we all go through it, and I know that everyone deals differently. But what advice do you have for that?
The first thing you need to understand with success is that it comes with negativity. So that's the first thing, right? Understanding that means that you understand that there will be people who will speak against you. There will be people who will not be happy for your success, and will say and do things that will discredit it. So like for anyone who has to deal with it, is part of it, you know. But you need to understand the difference between constructive criticism and bad mind, because sometimes you could sift through bad comments, but you could find truth in them. So somebody who might be harping on something is because they found a weakness. So for example, I use an example. I'll use a brainwash couple just as an example of something. So like if I'm looking through comments and I see that somebody decides, you know, despite the fact that everything went well with the event, they will say that party wasn't worth it because the cup had a crack. And then somebody else says, no, and so look at it, right? Someone else says, yeah, boy, mine had a crack too. All right? Now, I could see that somebody tried to discredit the event by saying, out of everything, they will harp on maybe one thing that was right. But then, I'll say, Sharice, was there a fault with the cup or something, right? Like, this is what would happen. It's like, because I see maybe 1 or 2 or 3 comments that people are saying that there was something wrong. And then we might find that there was truth in it. As in, yo, supplier didn't do X with the thing, and we told them to do it. And it's like, yo, well, we didn't know that. So now we know. So out of bad mind came something that
you weren't aware of to begin with, right?
That you weren't aware of.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's being self-aware too. You have to be aware. You know, you have to know to be able to take the talk and sometimes see where there may be truth, but not let it consume you. Because if that consumes you, is where you could go down a road of self-doubt and depression and then, you know, wanting to give up. And those are all things that happen. I've seen it happen to many people, and it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. Mental health is no joke.
No, at all. Which is why I'm really happy that, you know, stuff like this is going on. Like, we're able to connect in a digital space and people are able to come on, because I think that right now a lot of people need these things. Like a lot of people want to hear from, you know, the Private Ryans and the Skinny Fabulous. They want to watch you guys play. They want to connect with you guys because they can't connect. They're at home, you know, there's nothing really
Mm-hmm.
going on. So it's a scary thing. But I know that you mentioned, so, you know, with success comes a lot of negativity. What do you think is your definition of success?
I think that is self-defined. Everybody has their own milestones, you know. So success isn't about money or popularity. Those are things that come with success. But success could be as simple as achieving certain milestones. So if you know you wanted to connect with 50 people today, and you connected with 50 people, and you were able to inspire 50 people, you were successful in your day. You made it could I consider this interview successful? My measuring stick for that is, was I able to inspire? Was I able to educate, to make a difference? Right? So that's a measuring stick for success. So I think, you know, success comes when mentally you've set yourself a target, and then you know if you've accomplished that or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yes, some of it could be monetary, because if you know you want to save X amount of money, or if you want to buy a house, or if you want to have a family by a certain time or whatever, you may be successful in your own personal milestones. But don't think that popularity, money, thing, like one of the most, you know, successful things you could have is your health too.
Yep.
You know, because without your health, you have nothing. And trust me, you don't want to be a sick person. Like, it is not easy to be, and this is not just physical, this is mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, you know, another thing that it should be a measuring stick for success is, are you able to keep healthy, and then also, you know, support others, the ones that depend on you. And that could be your children, that could be your mother, your father, or anybody, your wife, your husband, anything.
And speaking of that, how do you, with your travel schedule, like do you find it difficult to maintain, you know, personal friendships, you know, keeping in contact with your family, like, because you're on the road a lot. So do you find that it's difficult, and how do you kind of work with that?
Yeah, it's difficult. My friends tell me I'm the worst at responding to messages sometimes. It's not personal. It really isn't. It really isn't. No, it's because, all right, so I would, and this is when I was in Ego. So sometimes, like, someone would message me, and like I was running through the airport, and I start in the plane, and then the process again in the plane, and then sometimes I feel a little anxious when I go on planes. So I just trying to, you know, bring myself down. And then, you know, I forgot to respond to you, and then the flight was 3 hours later, and then I land, and then I got to get you hotel. Then I realized days have passed, and I didn't respond as I planned. You're the worst. You know, and yeah, that's what happens. And on top of that, your message just goes down because, like, somebody else messaged. So it happens. Like, it is. So my good friends, they've come to understand that this happens, and you know, and
sometimes here and there.
Yeah, and sometimes I read them, but like, it's just I haven't gotten a chance to like sit down and articulate and type out the message and respond. But you know, it's nothing personal. It really is.
Do you think that that's something you want to more consciously work on? You know, especially with this type of situation going on with COVID.
Hey, I'm sure I'm gonna be a lot better with messages right now. Like I am more than positive I'll be alright with messages. Because anyone can tell you that yeah, I could be a little you know, I could be a little thing like I see Barry in the group there. Barry could tell you sometimes I'm the worst when it comes to like, he's like bravado. And if you already know the plane stories and sometimes the close calls with these planes in terms of getting on the flights and all kind, like someone will be messaging me something and like I literally can't answer. I can't answer. like if you already know what I just went through to get to this plane, like I can't. So sometimes I'll be on it just about to go on set, or I'm making a mix and I'm like, yo, sorry, I was making a mix, and you know, it's like 2 or 3 hours later. Yeah, it happened.
No, I know it does. Oh, shout out Walshy in the building.
Mad Walshy
Justin
boy.
was just asking something about percussions. I don't know what he said.
Yeah, I know what he's asking about. Yeah, yo.
That's a sidebar conversation, guys.
Yeah, another great song we're working on too. Like honestly, another great one. So we just have to finish it. We have to finish it. That's
All right, well, let's have some fun. So I'm just gonna ask you some random questions. So,
Mhm.
we're, since we're talking about relationships and stuff, on a personal level, what do you think is a deal breaker when you meet a girl? So, some guys don't like girls that smoke. Some guys have a thing about if you have ugly feet. Like, is there a deal breaker that you'd be like, nah, I'm good when you meet a girl?
Well, I'm not a smoker, so like if you're a smoker, I think that might be a little thing. Um, so that's one, and then two, just dealing with personal, just knowing the danger of smoking. Like I think smoking would be a thing. I don't think I'll be with a smoker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's basically how my uncle got sick. Um,
Oh,
so somebody who is extremely jealous,
okay.
I can't deal with that.
Definitely not
Uh,
in the industry that you're in, for sure. That would make
Not in
relationships
it,
so
because
complicated.
the reality of it is that anybody I end up with will have to know
Yeah.
that there is going to be a situation that there is going to be some female who poses in a picture with me,
Yeah.
or there's
Or hugs
somebody
you
who
too
might make some
close,
comment,
or yeah.
or somebody who does like it happens. So like you have to have manage expectations about that. Like you're not gonna be disrespectful, but you can't
Yeah.
be jealous
Over the
and
top.
possessive and then try to be a certain way. So it has to have some level of understanding in terms of the schedule and those things. I think that's one of the main things. So like
Okay.
I think if I had to take one of the top things is like, you can't be like overly jealous and possessive and vindictive with because you didn't get your way. And
Yeah.
nah
No, no,
nah
no, no, no. That's it.
nah
Is.
nah
Right
nah
out, right out, right out.
Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm.
Okay, and then on the flip side of that, like, what's one quality about a girl that you'd be like, I want to rock on her team. Like, I want her on my team, kind of thing.
If she is able to, all right, I mean, there's so many answers to that question, but a girl you could come home to and y'all can literally have conversations about everything. And she also is able to find humor in a lot of things too, just like me. Because if anyone knows me, like people don't know, I could find humor in
Yeah,
real
yeah.
nonsense.
You're.
Um, which is what you lighten up. You want to be able to be light, and the person, you just want someone that you can be yourself with,
Yeah.
and yeah, you don't feel judged, and vice versa. That's home now. That is what
Right.
you would want. In terms of that, and so they'll go down the list of other things. She'll have certain traits, and she has personality. She could cook. Men have just a checklist. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say, yeah,
That's awesome.
I want someone who's light, because you have some girls who have no personality.
Yeah,
They
your energy is
literally,
heavy.
like, you try to have a conversation with them. They have nothing to say. They have nothing. They
Oh
have,
gosh.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
speaking of cooking, so you said that you can cook. So what is your favorite? What can you throw down in the kitchen? Like, can a girl put you in a house? Because I know
No, I
DJs
want
want to
to
know.
make it categorically clear that I never said I could cook it. I said, I said
Just to be
that
clear.
I said that I am actually teaching myself a lot of things, that I didn't do, so like in college, my mother, she taught me how to cook before, right? So I know how to do the basic things. I
Mhm.
know how to do my rice, my veggies, my stewed chicken,
The macaroni
she taught me
pie.
macaroni pie, Cherise taught me lasagna. I could do, those things, right? In terms of being able to throw down a whole set of other things, I am now in the process, because now I have time now of upgrading myself now. So I said, all right, one of the things I'm going to do is every week, sorry, I'm going to try and learn to make something different,
Okay.
right? So, I have been doing that now. So I was supposed to make hummus today, I didn't do it.
Could you
Do that
could you
tomorrow.
send delivery to my house? Because I've been saying that I want hummus. So just
Yeah, so like I trying to learn how to make the quick things, because remember, when the lifestyle kicks back in,
you want to be
then
able to eat
you
healthy
want
and
to be
still
able
make
to. So
something.
the first thing I'm doing is the things that I know that if it comes to making quick things, I know how to do it. So obviously you know, those are basic things: salmon and veggies and rice and you know, the hummus and the thing, whatever. All those things are things that I'm thinking. But now in terms of the detailed stuff, you know, maybe I'll teach myself one or two tricks, you know. So like when you're ready to kind of,
you know,
throw it down, you
put
can
you in
throw it
house.
down. Like I could tell you, I can't make curry. Like I cannot make curry.
Wow.
You understand? So like I actually think I'm gonna challenge myself
I feel like you should
to
try
make a
yourself
good
to make
curry.
a roti too, you know. I feel like you could do a roti.
Yeah, like actually, I think I want to challenge myself to like, all right, so how I could, you know, do this and say people
Cooking
want
with Ryan.
cooking, right? Now
I feel
check
like you
check
have to
your
go
girlfriend.
live for that for sure. And like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so what's one thing that you have to have in your kitchen or like in your fridge? Like, what's one staple that you must always have?
Like food wise?
Yeah, mine is pepper sauce.
Wow, boy. Like are ready to eat something?
Just
Or
anything,
just
something that you use to cook, something like just something that you
now, well, you
always
can't
have.
have one or two. You can't have black pepper without salt. You know, like that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? That's a hard. That's
Well, I mean, mine is
that's-
pepper sauce. I have to have pepper sauce in my fridge at all times. Like, I can't.
I think I love onion. So like I like onion and garlic and those things. Like
Yeah.
so those things are things that, like, if I'm looking to put something in a pot, like if I have to make an omelette or if I have to do the salmon or if I have to do anything, those are things that I would want to have on hand. So like apart from the basics, those things, because I like those things.
Yes, and a little pimento and a shadow Benny. Yeah, that's it there.
Well,
Now,
yeah, those things.
tell me
Hmm.
something about yourself that would probably shock the fans, like that nobody would know, whether it be like something that happened to you or just a talent that you have, but like what's something that people would be like, nah, for real?
I have a great talent to draw, so I draw a lot.
Oh,
Well, I can't draw. I like one of my early talents before DJing is a cartoonist looked at the things I was drawing and he said, "You have a really good knack for doodling." So I can scribble and draw things very well. Even the Soca Brainwash logo. Before I sent it to the designer, I actually drew the logo, and then
oh,
he then yeah. So like I can draw very well. But apart from that, if you've seen my other interviews, you know, I used to be a video game. I used to love video games, but particular video games. And my favorite video game of all time is actually Mortal Kombat. And
oh,
so
snap.
if you ask if anyone is a Mortal Kombat fan, I can literally probably answer almost anything about Mortal Kombat that exists. Yeah, and that's it's a weird thing, but it is one of those things, yeah.
So this might be a new challenge, the Mortal Kombat challenge, and we'll bring in all the boys.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten a chance to play it. Like the new one, it's been out for a while, but I just haven't gotten a chance to. Like I have it in Miami, but of course I'm here,
Yes.
and PlayStation is in Miami, so you know
Okay.
I'm home.
And then do you have like a really cool fan story? You know, whether it be something that they might have messaged and said something, or like a crazy fan came up to you in Miami and you know, like what's like a cool fan story?
Nah, they all standard, you know. Like as in, I don't think I have any crazy stalker stories, you know. Like nah, I don't think I have any crazy stalker stories. Nobody's like followed me or tried to like or just showed up at the hotel or
Okay.
all those things. I mean, I've dealt with people who've cried before. You know, they've cried, they've like legit cried, and yeah. I mean, I've dealt with people who've told me that I'm responsible for their children, that they got pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah, these things,
Well,
yeah, these things happen. Like in DC, there's actually they're in the Soca Brainwash video somewhere, and then they said, "Hey, what are those?" And I saw them a year later, right before a boat ride or something, and he said, "Hey, want to know something funny? Like I got pregnant after Soca Brainwash this year," and then she's like pregnant, you know,
oh, like pregnant. Oh, wow.
yeah, like pregnant, and you know, like, yeah, no, it's serious. And people come to me all the time with those kind of comments, like, as in, yo, you wouldn't believe, like, you know, your mixes get me so much girls, man. I've had sex with so many of your mixes. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, cool story, bro.
Cool story, bro.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, this happens. So, like, these are real stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what's your favorite 90s R&B song?
Nah, boy, I don't have that. That I do have.
Okay, can you give me three?
No.
Echoing all of a sudden here.
I can't, boy. Like I didn't. Nah, boy, that's hard. That is hard. There's so much. You see, the 90s was just such a great era of R&B in particular, and you're talking about straight from coming out of Michael Jackson, True Hill, Jodeci, Babyface, going straight into the era of Aaliyah.
Okay,
Genuine.
So let's go with
so much.
top 3 females from R&B genre.
Hands down, one of my favorite females from the 90s is Missy Elliot. No question. Missy Elliot was the most creative and one of the most dynamic lyricists in terms of videos and in terms of production. Missy Elliot is one of my favorites. Aaliyah, obviously. Yeah. Aaliyah, I love. One of my favorite songs from her is At Your Best. Who else? It'll be Missy, Aaliyah. You see, God, my mind is just, you see that, and my mind is activated.
I'm thinking like a Lauryn Hill, a Mary J.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You just nailed it. That's who I wanted to see. Yeah. Lauryn Hill, Missy Elliot, and Aaliyah. Those three. I would say those three. With honorable mention to, I have these at the top of my head because I put them in my mix in quarantine for Toni Braxton, Sade.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Toni Braxton, Sade were in as well too. Then you had the groups FWV. You had it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, no, they're really the 90s.
Yeah. The 90s was one of the greatest eras in terms of that. If you had to do an in your fields mix, then there's a lot of content from that. Mm-hmm.
You'd be in your feelings. What's one word to describe yourself? Like if we had to say Private Ryan is, what's one word? I don't even want to see what the boys are gonna write.
I don't want my friends to answer.
I don't even want to know what.
Don't answer that. You hear that?
Guys,
Go answer that question. Go answer that question. Oh boy. I don't know what I would describe myself as in one word. I think it depends on the day. Yes.
Justin said Jessa.
Jessa, yes. No, boy, it just depends on the day. But I think I inherited from my father. Like I could find humor in a lot of different things. I could tell you that. So boy, I can't.
He is private.
That was very descriptive. I love it. The next side. Yeah, well, all right, I can see that. Versatile in different ways. Because behind a lot of different things is just a lot of different mindsets, moods. You have your days. I could be humorous one day, I could be serious another day. It's just one of those things. You're producing, you're DJing, you're doing events, you're drawing, you're playing Mortal Kombat. You're like, what you gonna do, boy? One morning you're drinking smoothies, the other morning you might want an omelette. That's really, that is me, boy. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Okay. And what's your favorite thing to do when you're not traveling? So, like when you're home, outside of quarantine, what was your favorite thing to do when you weren't on the
road? Two things, and they're opposites. So there's solitude, which is good because you get to be quiet, but there's also socializing. So one thing I like about being home in Trinidad in particular, even when I'm in Miami or in between, like when I'm in New York and in these places, I love to see my friends and get a chance to sit down with them and talk with them and just catch up and do those things because I like being light. So like in terms of of that. I really love to connect with the energy of people, which is a fact. And then sometimes you just like being alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like, just being alone and mentally just not doing anything. So, you'd watch a series or like, even if I'm creating, funny enough, it's relaxing. So like if I just in a mood to make music, I'll do that, and that's relaxing.
Right.
So yeah, but I really do like I do like connecting with people. So like when I go to Miami, I always connect with my friends. We used to, we would link up with Blaze and Saeed and Barry and
yeah,
everybody else, the Renel, Natalie, my friend
shout out all the
Jamaica.
girls.
Yeah. You had to shout them out,
Yes, show
See what's going on in life.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you 5 questions you have to choose from. So of what your preference is. So vodka or Johnny Walker?
Vodka.
Curry or stew?
Stew.
Carnival.
But I like that hard question, yeah? But anyway, go ahead.
You say curry stew if you want, because that's the thing too.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
Carnival Monday or Carnival Tuesday?
Tuesday is longer.
Okay, I would choose Monday. I love Monday.
I love Monday because it's just free spirited.
Yes.
Like there's something
you
about
no
Monday.
Feathers. You're just on the road, beer vibes.
But Tuesday wins because we go later and there's a last lap.
Correct. Okay, so more.
So the vibes, and then too, like when it's coming to end, the energy starts to go in a certain direction because people just know that it's coming. Then like it then takes on a whole other life. And like this year, I say Tuesday maybe because this year. I mean, I know you're going into a session, but I'll just tell you the story behind this. Tuesday this year, Carnival, we were pulling out into St. James. So Tribe was pulling out into St. James. We were truck 5, right? And so I remember seeing Ryan inside in the park, and he was saying, "Boy, I think I'm gonna start playing now. Like already for Carnival Tuesday afternoon." So I was there and we were live before, and usually I would, usually Hazard would start and then I would go on after, right? Like once we reached St. James, I would start to play. But then I was like, you know what? This year, I'm gonna start playing from the get go and just play like real long this afternoon. So like tonight I'll come off and just make it vibes. Of all years that this happens, right? Tribe, whatever happened, decided that they were taking the truck off the road because they had a problem with getting one of the trucks from Bliss into Last Lap. So they took my truck with me, Rigo, all of us. We were now getting ready to go in on the road. And they took us off the road. So our truck went into the Last Lap or whatever. And so it was like, wow. So then now it ended up a situation where I was free on Carnival Tuesday for the first time in like years, where I didn't have to study my laptop or the equipment or anything, and I was just like, I think I'm just gonna have fun.
I'm gonna just live my best life.
I went and I decided to, it was like, hey, let me see, what's happening here. I didn't have to do anything, so like, I mean, there you go. So Carnival Tuesday wins this year.
Okay, we'll go with this year. Action movie or comedy movie?
Ah, boy, that's hard. Action.
Damn, I'm comedy for sure, 100%.
I love comedy. Like, I love good comedies, but like action, depending, I've seen some really, really good action movies over time. So like when I think back about classic Terminator 2, Matrix, the first one, Face Off, like there's so many I could call. Like action. I mean, there's certain classic comedy movies, but like action movies, they have something, boy.
True. And do you have a sweet tooth or do you like savory? I'm savory all day.
Savory. I'm selective sweet. I love sweet things, but I don't eat sweet things often. So like, I'm not the person I'll order dessert often, but I love dessert. If that makes sense.
Okay. And okay, so this is like a really controversial question, and I know that a lot of people have asked me, a lot of people have been asking. But who really won Shirt Wars?
Me. This is the question.
People want to know. The people really want to know. Did Ryan Saeed win? Did Tony X win? Like, who really won?
I mean, they tried. They put up valiant, efforts. Like, I I have to shout out to them. You know, they tried. And the thing is, sometimes I wasn't even competing. You know, like I was just trying to, I just, go along with it. But they couldn't keep up with the shoot was, Or shoot was supposed to return in summer, but we'll see, Saeed claims that he tells his followers, Saeed is a propaganda kind of guy, He tells his followers when he won and, all these things, but
ooh,
listen.
Look, Barry says Saeed won.
Saeed won? Barry, are you saying that Saeed
out of this
won?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy. He doesn't go to say it's Photoshop, boy.
Right? Facts.
He doesn't go to hate.
Haters go hate. Oh my gosh. No, but I'm really happy that we had a chance to, sit down and rock, and people got opportunity to really get to know you on another level. What do you think? What would be your advice? Obviously what we're going through right now is a very difficult situation outside of all the jokes and everything. And we're all just trying to find different ways of coping and, just staying sane at the end of the day. So what advice do you have for people who may just, want to be creative at home? They're going through this pandemic, like what advice do you have for them to push forward?
First of all, stay home. Don't go out.
Yes.
Second of all, just embrace your creativity. Like, this is ideas time, This is where the ideas of the new world will come out, whether it be a new business, a new event, production, DJing, anything. Like you're learning a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
What if I become Trinidad's top chef after this? Like, What if I learn how to make curry properly? These are the things. So like, no, you have to embrace the time. You have to embrace the silence. Sometimes it's better to embrace the silence. Because you'll be able to really come up with new ideas and policies and ways of going forward with your own creativity.
I keep saying that. I think that after this, people really need to come out here come out as a better version of themselves, because you have all this time on your hands.
I was thinking of growing a ras. I don't know how the people in this group would think about me with a ras.
So for everyone in here, if you think that Ryan should grow a ras, put some flames. Let me act like a DJ. Put some flames on the screen. Drop some flames in that chat.
Put some flames. Let me shake my locks. You know what I'm saying?
I see 2 questions in here. Oh, I guess we can take one of these questions before we go. And let me pick one. If your life was to be written in a soundtrack, what would be your top? Nope, we just did songs. So hold on. What's the possibility of Trinidad Carnival 2021? What are your
Undecided, because we don't know what's going to happen with the wave in America yet. And I think that the planning cycle for carnivals across the board are now compromised. So whereas let's say a major band in Trinidad would be planning for a band launch in July, their designers can't get to New York. Things can't come from like China and these places where a lot of costumes are made. So for them now, they are also in the time where they're figuring out their new norm for 2021. We don't know what that looks like yet. It may be virtual. It may be virtual band launches and these things that may have to happen. And then what would Carnival look like when, let's say, a New York, which is a major consumer of the Carnival product worldwide? Most major carnivals are fueled heavily by New York, whether some people like it or not. That is the truth. Miami is another huge consumer as well too. And with the US being, and I mean the rest of the world, but they are huge in it as well too. With them being compromised both financially and in terms of their travel restrictions, we don't know what quarantine restrictions are going to be put in place. Like if you land in a territory, are you going to have to take 2 weeks off you know, by yourself. What's the point in flying to Trinidad if I have to stay inside for 2 weeks?
Exactly.
And then on top of that, you know they're not doing that when they reach Trinidad because they don't have a drink, right?
Exactly.
So you didn't come down here to quarantine.
You
come down here to pub, right? So with that being said, and understanding that that is what the possibility is, we don't know what Carnival is going to look like, and we don't know if. Right. So, in understanding that we don't know what's going to happen over the next few months, it's just a waiting game, and everybody across the board has to look and see what's going to happen. We don't know if the last of the carnivals that have not announced their fate yet would be Cropover, Notting Hill, Grenada, Labor Day. Although I kind of anticipate we could kind of guess where we're going with Labor Day already.
Yeah. Even Miami Carnival, I'm concerned.
I think they're holding out. I think they would hold out for a little while as well too. But of course, their planning cycle. Sorry, points of water. Their planning cycle would be a little compromised now too, because of course a parade requires a certain amount of time.
Right.
So if it becomes a situation where they can't foresee up to a certain point, they would have to postpone it.
Exactly. And then costume designers would need to prepare themselves because they're making the costumes and all of that stuff themselves. So
correct. So we don't know. So when it comes to Trinidad, to be honest, and you know, and I hate to say, I don't like to put things out. We just don't know. But we hope that that they will find a way to kind of open the world back up, even if it's in a restricted way, but in a way at some point, you know?
I think that the new normal is just going to be so weird, because I think after this, when people are allowed to go back outside, it's going to be very different. People are going to be very hesitant when it comes to, you know, as much as we say we want to lime and we want to pump, and I feel like people will still be very sketchy about going to parties and going out in, you know,
it's going to be a curve. Like people assume that it's going to be this mass exodus for people to go to events, and I don't think that it would be just a clear-cut case of people just rushing to events and going out. There will be a lot, yes, but there is going to be a level of paranoia, especially as we don't know how the death toll and these things are going to go.
Exactly. Even with the interactions, like, you know, for those like me, I'm a hugger. I'm going to be very wary about wanting to hug people, you know, and shake hands and all that stuff. So it's going to be a different situation altogether.
Think about the process of travel on a plane. When you're in when you're in a situation where it's 3 seats and you know in a plane. If you get the middle seat,
guys, it day.
Nobody ain't trying to do that, boy. I'm telling you, the world is kind of like how 9/11 changed how we traveled. This will now change the world for a little while. You know, handshakes, hugs, social gatherings, quarantine protocols. A lot of different.
Just being outside on a whole. This person had asked this before, but I missed the message. They wanted to know, what is your advice? Oh, I just lost it again. Where did it go? I'm trying to find his name.
So a club that may be able to hold, like, let's say 800 people, they might only, the law might only state, for these establishments, just for y'all to generate some revenue, but you can only have like 200 people at a time. Like, these are the kind of things that may happen. Yeah, so
DJ
we'll see.
Wumi said, tips to build relationships with artists.
Over time, and shoot your shot. Sometimes, you know, if you have access to an artist and you see them and, you know, just have a conversation, you know, you know, you don't necessarily have to be in radio or a popular DJ to then build a rapport with an artist who could then respect what you're doing. And the simple things you could do, I mean, these are just unorthodox marketing methods, but let's say you wanted to meet Lyrical, or you just wanted to have a rapport with Lyrical, and you made a best of Lyrical mixtape, and you know, people tagged you and say, hey, this mixtape is really good, this DJ made this, and then you're able to connect with him and say, hey, I'm a big fan. So little thing like that, he might respond and say, hey, give thanks for the mix, you know, glad you appreciate the work, and then you build a relationship. So, you know, you just find different ways to kind of connect with the artist. And the
And
artists will, in this new world, will be looking for that because, of course, they want their music out there too. So as much exposure they can get, they'll take it, you know?
right, of course. Someone also said, will Private Ryan clash on Major Hype's live? Ooh.
No. I'm enjoying it though. And the reason why too is because I mean the level of cutting the dub plates that I would, if I go into something, I go in it to win. I'll go in and it'll be for the fun, yes, it'll be for the love. But I want to be prepared. And right now, like mentally, I'm so you know, like doing the mixes and doing the live and doing the one music library. Like that's where my zone is right now. So like I wouldn't be at my best, you know, and I don't think that would be fair. You know, to not give of my best to, in order to be able to go into that. So I don't think, I appreciate it, and I actually take any clashes. I looked at the clash with Jazzy T and all of them last day. Yeah, I look at it. I look at the Tony Matarons. I've been observing. I look at the D-Nice, took in Jesters, live. I'm just looking. I'm a fan of DJs. So, you know, I don't think I'll be doing that. No.
Okay, and then someone said, how come Ryan doesn't mic?
I just never was the thing that I did. So yes, I can talk, but I just never I never zoned in on that skill because of course, because I have been primarily focused on musical delivery in terms of DJing, the craft of it. I never, and it could be something I could train myself to do while I'm in quarantine. The art of talking and playing at the same time is something that you need to program yourself. You need to reprogram how you think, because I am the kind of person that incorporates like little scratches and playing acapellas and doing this and doing that. And so in order for me to merge what people know as Private Ryan along with a miking ability, which a lot of people actually do actually appreciate the fact that I don't speak on the mic. Right. You know, that's something that I need to kind of work on over time, and that's so I appreciate all the people especially in the Caribbean market who are able to do it. Right. But it's not as simple as people think, you know.
Yeah. I caught a little bit of Ryan Saeed's live last night where he was talking about it too, saying that, you know, he's trying to teach himself as well a little bit about miking. He's been doing it on his lives because that's not necessarily something that he does often. So I guess this is a good time for you guys to, you know, work on that craft and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a time to do it,
don't talk.
But
Trip down memory lane, Ryan. Talk about memorable detrimental sound days, no bro.
Detrimental sound days, boy. Detrimental sounds. That was the sound I had when I was, as I said, I was in high school, and so I formed this group with my friend.
You had your own sound in high school?
Yeah, man. So I had a song system. So that's where the plates came from. So a lot of the plates, you know, we had Bounty and Beres and Ward 21 and Junior Kelly and oh yeah, boy, Louis Culture, all kind of stuff we had that were classic for us. And so like, yeah, I grew up in what people don't, you know, may not know is that the same clashing and song system era, I grew up in that and was part of it. So I actively played in song systems, know about playing dub plates, know about song system tune. Used to listen, if anyone is a Jamaican fan, they know about Bass Odyssey and
Kilimanjaro
and Jaro and all of them. So I knew, and Stone Love, and there was a difference between you know, the clashing sounds and the juggling sounds to each other. The sounds are like Renaissance, Stone Love, and them. So like I know about all that. I grew up in that. So I could be if I had to, and I need to restart recording because there's one on there's a thing called 999 on Red that happened, and so there was a time when I actually played you know, and I was playing Soundman style with Chinese, get to clash everybody. So like our shift, yeah. I have to get the audio recorded.
Upload that for sure.
I have to upload that one of me just playing like that, an argument, tune, go, like, and that's how I'm able to play alongside, let's say, someone like Walchi, who also grew up in that. So when now I have to connect with Walchi on a songman level, there's a gear I could kick into, which is just natural to me because I have that in me. So I could be the smooth DJ, I could do the things, but then you
could war if you need to war.
Right. If we need to go into that zone, like we could go into that zone too, you know, and that's something that is you're just part of me from detrimental days, you know.
Who's the lady's voice on your mixes?
British girl who does drops professionally. She actually is the voice, and I wanted to get someone different because I wanted it to stand out. So when you hear it, you just think of a Private Ryan mix. And so like I'll be coming up with all those things that she says are things that I just come up with in my idle time.
Someone said, when you were making your name, did you make it a priority to separate yourself from your peers? If
Mm-hmm. If
wasn't
I
sure what
made
is
it a
happening, sorry.
priority with the
Yeah.
name, the name was
To
actually
separate yourself from your peers.
now the name was actually given to me. It was given to me not by accident, but it derived out of me being known as the number one recruit when back in the Soundman, right? So back the same Soundman days with Detrimental, there's a group called Radioactive and Jugglers and these people, right? And when their DJs couldn't make it, I would be called to play in place of their main DJ, which people didn't realize because of course they were the headliners, well in their own right. But then I would be the one playing. So like back in like let's say 96.1 days before Charlotte was a soca artist, but she's still a radio announcer.
Right.
But on Saturday mornings I would be the DJ playing, right? The same with Hoppy with Radioactive and Bass Nightclub, which is when I was playing for when I was young, in the beginning when I said I used to get picked up sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Moms used to sneak out in the back and nobody seen me disappear. I got.
Oh, at least so she didn't pull up in the front of the club and say,
Nah. That can't happen. That could not happen. I used to tell them, hey, what's going on? Go around the corner. I'll be outside at this time. Don't worry about it. Right? Yeah. So one day when they had a radio ad for the club that night, they said, yo, Radioactive's coming out and I'm bringing the number one recruit, Private Ryan. So Hyper Hopper, aka Hoppy, aka Mr. Scorch, is actually the one who first said Private Ryan as my name, right?
Oh.
And that I loved it. Like as in I said, it makes sense, and I actually went with it. Now everything I created around it was me, but the actual name actually came when he said that in an ad one day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think it was a two-part question. So the other part of the question was, did you make it a priority to separate yourself from your peers? If so, as you were coming up, if so, in what ways did you do it?
Every single way. So the way I played, like I created a style of playing, especially in the days of, if anyone knows about the days of using, so it's called vinyl, but records. So like if you have any parents that have a record collection, that's how the DJs used to play, right? And I'm not old, but I was very young. I was advanced. So like, I'm in my 30s now, but I started DJing very young. So like I've been around this since then and I learned to play like that. So in those days, the way I used to play, and I still kind of have it because I have a certain speed, like if I need to mix very quickly and have a rapid fire kind of delivery with music, I can do that. And so I was known to be like that as well too, right? Then into what I would play, like I would try to find different songs to play to stand out from everybody else. And then now that evolved into what we talked about earlier. So like then how do you then now further yourself? Because as things became more accessible, whereas you could stand out playing different in the CD era and the vinyl era, right? Where you had to buy a song to be able to play it. Right. That is why right. So being able to buy a song made you would differentiate it immediately because there was a barrier. When the internet came on board now, and you were able to, and so Serato came into play, it means that it leveled the playing field in terms of accessibility of music. It means that everybody was now starting to get more access to more music in one sitting, right? So then I had to create a way of playing. So when I soca wise, when I started to use stems and acapellas and then now I differentiated with the drops. So the female was one of them, but then the Private Ryan and Attention, right. The most style DJ in the world was taglines. That's branding. So then created a brand around your sound, right? And remember, as people, as a thing, the sound of the mixtapes, like you can make the mixtape in a certain way, but then you have to be able to play live in a different way. And then you play it different on the radio because they all require different skill sets. And because sometimes party DJs are not good radio DJs and vice versa. And sometimes mixtape DJs are not good live DJs and those things. So in terms of differentiation, it was about finding your, what is your core trait. And so like I could listen to different DJs, and as a fan of DJs, identify their core traits and why it works for them. So there's no one blueprint to tell you how you should sound, because you need to create your sound and then make it your own, right? So that's that. But the core fundamental should be there. You should actually know how to mix two songs together. But don't get me wrong, I've heard DJs who can't mix, but for some reason they make it work.
Yeah. Do they talk over?
No, like it's weird, and I find that some of the worst DJs, and I say worst DJs I've heard, right, in terms of like they can't mix two songs together, but sometimes they teach you something. Like they just do something that is like, yo, like this sparked an idea, because they might put two songs together that make no sense, but then but the song that they may play, maybe even a song you haven't even heard before, because they are not a DJ who doesn't know how to mix isn't confined by what mixes together with what. They're just playing songs. And sometimes when they're just playing songs, they even remind you of songs you forgot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
like,
weird.
Yeah,
like, you can find it in anything. Yeah, you could find it. You gotta find it.
Yeah. Somebody said, what's your favorite event to play at? I mean, that's a tough question.
Any event that allows me to explore my versatility, because I really have fun playing different things. Like, it's really a lot of fun being able to do the soca, yes, but it's also a lot of fun when you're able to make people happy with different types of music. You know, and you could shock people and really get them singing in a different way. Like, I love to do, like, for example, New Year's parties where the crowd is diverse. Like, you can then really, really showcase your ability to play a wide range of music, which is why, for example, in Jamaica, like, I think I'm one of the few, I was one of the first, if not the first, and then Back to Basics and then came after, the first outsider DJ they brought. Usually that was powered by Renaissance alone. That was Delano, Jazzy T, and Smoke at the time. And then when they heard me play whatever, I was literally the only one that was brought in to play all types of different music alongside them, and then they added others over time. But that is you know what I like. And then, as I use C'est La Vie as an example, I used to do that in Barbados over time. You know, I did a lot of things in Antigua. You know, I go to Bahamas and, you know, Jamaica. I've been to St. Martin, St. Kitts. I've done a lot that, like in terms of those things. So I love to do those things, you know. So I can't pinpoint an event because there's an event like that in a lot of different places that I play, you know?
Yeah. Well, someone said, which island do you enjoy playing in the most?
Every island has its own magic, boy. Like, as in, there's a science to everywhere, boy. There's a way to play, like, island-wise. There's a way to play in Barbados that is just, it's different than Antigua. It's different in Dominica. It's different. It's just across the board. I don't have a favorite, you know, but I like, as I said, I like the events in each place that appreciate the different music, you know. That's basically what I like.
Keeping up with Meek said, I need you to play at my wedding. Buzz B from Toronto said, what advice would you give artists in terms of releasing music during quarantine?
That they should. Now is the time to showcase the versatility of the soca. So if you're concerned that you only had a party hit, it means that you need to explore the variety in the content maybe you have. Now, it is also important that you do produce a party hit and find an interesting way to promote it, because now you have the attention of everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when there's going to be a point, because now this is a very new world, that the industry is on pause, which means that the content now is Trinidad alone right now with their content. but we were actually expecting, let's say, some releases for Jamaica, which would have then gone into crop over, right? Bahamas, crop over, those things that would have then been fueled by Lucia and Grenada, which then fuels what will be Notting Hill hits into Miami Carnival, that then goes segues into Uber Soca and then Trinidad. If all the islands decide that they are not going to release music because they're afraid of the quarantine, it means that they've put the whole industry, soca-wise, right, at a standstill. Right? And I don't think that that is a good idea. It is important that they release some of the music, even if they're not going to release some of the stuff that they think would have been major party hits. Even if you had 5 songs, at least release 1 or 2. Like, do something like that, because you're going to need the new music at some point. Right. You know, like, it can't be that be the only genre that is at a standstill. So I understand that there's some songs that may not be finished, right? So like, I know that is a thing, but I do know a lot of artists that have music that is finished that they were waiting for. I like that as a fact. Right. So they need right now is a good time to release some new music. Right now. Right. Telling you. Agreed. Because now they have all the ears. Like, everyone is locked on. Everybody is locked on. So if you find a way to release a good song right now, it means that you have the attention of people who are going to then listen to it and love it, because that's what they listen to in quarantine over and over and over again. Agreed. So maybe I should send that drum pattern to Blaze, because as I'm saying that. Marlon Hill said, what will brainwash look like in the future when those teenagers now come of age? Wow, the teenagers that come of age. Well, brainwash needs to be in a position where it is appreciated by the teenagers first. The problem with that is that the teenagers now are not in the income bracket, or not in an income bracket, because they're not spending their own money, right? So then the question is, how do you groom a new generation of 17 to, let's say, 17 to 21 year olds, right? Because they're in that zone, to then appreciate a product like Soca Brainwash, because they may not fully understand it yet. You know, like when you have to start spending your own money, and then you're looking for experiences, then you're looking for like-minded people around your similar age group as well too. Those are, you know, that's when they start to really look for what they really want to attach themselves to. So in the future, when it reaches their time to then graduate to that, because when you're like 17, 18, you start to want to distance yourself from the younger generation. Like, it happened to all of us. When you're 17, 18, you don't want to party with no 15 and 14. Yep. Like, y'all are smallies. Like, y'all need to not be in my space. Yeah. So I'm grown. So you want to party with grown folks. So then now, what does the experience look like for them? What speaks to them? And you have to kind of just keep your hand, or your eye on the trends of what are they listening to? What are they into? Because then you might want to implement some things that speak to them as well too, while still preserving what made your event what it is. But you can't ever, you know, think that things can't change, because everything needs to evolve. There's a point that, you know, everything needs to evolve. Do you think that you would ever do like a kids event or like a youth event? Definitely. I think I should. I think it's important that I should do that as well. You know, what would that look like? You know? I mean, you could do like a kiddie one, and then you could have there's like kiddie, and there's kids, and there's kids, and then there's kids. Yeah, so you could do a kiddie, and we could have, you know, popcorn and cotton candy and all that fun stuff. The kids, I don't know, you know, how that one's gonna go, because they're just, the older kids are different. DJ Boots, and then what do you play in a kids event? You know what I'm saying? Like a kids event. You see, this is where, because somebody just up to today now are listening to everything. I mean, they're listening to the clean versions, but you know, a lot of them are listening to. I think we should put some
take that to the team. Take that to the team and get back to us about it.
Would you want your 15-year-old Bennett over and pick it
No,
up?
negative. No, negative. It's a no. No, negative.
Yeah, exactly. So you see,
It's so strong. They're not even, when I have kids, they're not even going outside. They're going to be quarantined until they're like 21. They're not going outside.
you see, your daughter must not be the one pick it up. Leave it on the ground.
Oh gosh.
Exactly
DJ
my
Boots
point.
asked, what's the best way to brand yourself as a DJ to build up your following? Utilize social media.
Yeah, social media is one of them. You just have to create your organic following. It comes from like even new ways of networking and stuff, you know. When you have friends, they could be your organic ambassadors. So if you are good at it, they then become the people who spread the word naturally, and it goes out. And so understanding who you're targeting is the first thing. Like, what you want to be and who you want to be directly speaking to, and then just build on that over time. And don't think that there's no such thing as too small. It could start as 2 people that could then evolve into 8, then it'll go to like 15, then it'll go to 20, and then over time you realize that it spreads so organically that you realize that you're talking to hundreds of people. When you start commanding hundreds of people, it means that you start having actual fans. Now, it's important to understand that Instagram, and this is a really important
fans and
point.
Real life fans are different fans.
No, your followers do not equate to your fans.
Yeah.
They are not the same.
Right.
There are people who follow you that are not your fans, and then there are fans who don't follow you. Right? So understanding the power of creating a movement isn't just by social media metrics, which is why it's important to be very organic with your following as well too, right? And a lot of people get lost in, I have X amount of followers, but that is why there are artists and DJs and stuff that may have followers, and then they let them throw a party and nobody comes. It's because those people aren't necessarily your fans.
Yep, facts.
You understand? Your fans believe in you. They invest in you. They are on a journey with you, right? So there's a big difference. Understanding that is one of the most important things in terms of knowing how to maneuver this entertainment industry, because it could be a very, very harsh wake-up call. Yeah.
I know DJ Shai had asked, what program do you use to produce?
Right now, that this year was going to be a really good year for all of them. All of them, I think, were given really good themes. I think people were really excited for each one of them. I was excited for the Jamaica edition as well too, for based on
Ghana, Bermuda.
Everyone has an island now, you know what I'm saying? Everyone has a link to the island now, you know what I'm saying? So like everyone wants to be part of it. But the question is that for everyone in here, would you all travel to I am gonna start this tonight. Yeah.
And then you can do a beard too, like.
Correct. Just bobo. Yes, we let do it.
Oh gosh, well, thank you guys, everybody, for joining in for our interview. It was nothing but good vibes. And make sure you check out, for those following me that don't know, check out at DJ Private Ryan. His mixes are all downloadable now. They're all downloadable, or the most recent ones?
Yeah, all on the website. The ones on SoundCloud are just streaming, but everything on the website is downloadable now.
Okay.
So you could search for it in the search bar. I mean, they're grouped as well now too. So if you press in, I think Soca Brainwash, press play, or the thing, all of them will come up. So it's better now, interface wise, and you could scroll to the left and to the right, kind of like how you would in iTunes or just scrolling through work and stuff. So it is more user friendly, and it is still a work in progress. So we'll see. So anyone wants to send me an island,
Yeah, look, somebody said, DJ Boots said check your DM, so make sure you check your DM. But yeah,
for a couple thousand people, yeah, sure.
Why not?
Yeah, just send me an island, send me an island. Let's see how it could go.
But yes, continue to support the DJs, guys. Support the culture. Download the music. Buy the music. Ryan is on all platforms. SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram. Follow him, follow me. Every week I'll have a new artist, a new guest. You never know who's going to be on the show, so follow me to stay tuned. But Ryan, Private Ryan, thank goodness that this quarantine has happened, because you've had 2.5 hours to talk to me. This would never have happened.
Wow, look at that. Wow, I feel that was some shade. Hey, somebody say All Inclusive New York is coming soon. No, it's not. New York does not. I have to say it because it's a joke. Like in the group, with Barry and Sided, it's the number one question I get all the time. Why is New York not all inclusive? New York laws do not allow for you all to consume unlimited alcohol at those numbers. It's not going to happen that easily.
Yes, please address it. Because
so,
somebody will leave this live and screenshot it and say, Ryan said there's going to be an all-inclusive in New York.
Like, I don't think people understand. Like, New York is not like the other states in a lot of regards, and like drinks inclusive in New York is for those numbers is just not gonna happen anytime soon, especially now.
Yeah,
after
definitely
all this,
not now.
like, it's just not gonna happen. It happens, like, yes, it happens with small events and clubs and weddings and like maybe VIP zones that they do it, but it's like New Yorkers have to realize that it can't be done for those numbers, and they're just not going to
It's not going to happen.
They're not going to allow it. Yeah.
New York have to be that way for good reason. And Jan said, somebody find sponsorship.
Boy.
For those of you New Yorkers that are locked in that wanted to know, now you know. So
I literally, in New York, is like, be the one who does that and let him get the respect of doing that. That's his baby. Let him do that. I will incorporate it in the way I mix because I can. But I think that I'll leave that for him to do, and I'll do my versatile, so that people could interact. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, man. Well, thank you all for watching. You guys stay blessed, and don't forget, slide in Ryan's DM if you have access to an island.
If you have an island,
send Ryan a DM. Send me a DM too.
Send me a DM.
I want to go to the island. But have a blessed night, guys, and we'll see you guys soon. Mwah. Bye, Ryan.
Hey, good night. Yeah, man.
Bye.